What's up, everybody? This is Suresh from And is a Monkey coming at you guys with another episode of Let's Check Out Some Diecast. In today's video, we are going to be checking out the second mix of the hot ones. These are exclusive to Target in the United States. So with my previous video being on the last wave of Ultra Hots and the first wave of the hot ones, which is succeeding or replacing the Ultra Hots, soon enough, I happened to run into the second mix of the hot ones. So I grabbed one each of every casting in the set, and I wanted to kind of like open it up here on the channel. So pretty interesting set. It's a set of 8 cars, right? And if you look at the castings, we have a Mazda Repu, a 69 Corvette Racer, and there's like something else that's written. I'm not gonna try and pronounce that and kind of like create a massacre there. A Nissan Skyline RS, KDR 30, a Porsche 917 LH, a 60s Fiat 500D Modificado, a 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV, a Volkswagen T1 panel bus combi, and a 71 Datsun 510. Now, I'm very pumped about the last 2 castings because those are castings that I collect. But in general, I think this is a very interesting set. I think it keeps in tradition with the previous mix, wherein, you know, it's a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of JDM, it has American muscle, it has a little bit of Europe, and, you know, exotics and everything, right? So fun set. Now, the wiki article for the hot ones, right? So it lists that this set is actually the first mix of 2026. Now, this is October 2025, and chances are that, you know, Hot Wheels kind of like brought in an earlier to market a release of this mix, which was actually meant for 2026, but I kind of like found that pretty interesting. So the first wave is meant for 2025, and this is actually the first mix of 2026, and overall the second mix of the hot ones. All right. Okay. So without further delay, let's dive right into checking these cars out. At number 1, we have a pretty neat looking Mazda Repu, right? Now, with regards to the card art, I mean, it's continuing the tradition of super retro vintage style. And, you know, the car on the card art is traveling with a swoosh with all those, you know, lines in a blur, kind of like depicting the speed and stuff like that. So Mazda Repu, a nice addition to JDM trucks. I think, you know, I have a lot of these castings as well. So I may have just been, you know, unconsciously, I may just have started a collection without knowing that I'm actually collecting the series. All right. So Mazda Repu, nice Spectre Flame purple right there. So let me just like zoom in a little. All right. So nice Spectre Flame purple coupled up with that red, you know, flatbed and interior. Okay. So, and with regards to details, a Mazda lettering right there, and it says rotary power. Okay, it says rotary power. Okay, so, and it has the gold hot ones wheels, or this is actually classified as GHO wheels. All right, so there we have the first casting in this mix, which is the Mazda Repu. At number 2, we have a pretty beautiful looking 69 Corvette Racer. Excellent card art, very vintage, very retro. And this one has some legit licenses like Castrol. Okay, it's got that you know, grill, racing grill, the number 6, and this one's got like a plastic base. Yep, this one also got a plastic chrome base. All right, so now I just wanted to remind that this is not your basic mainline cost. It's more of the like the semi-premium cost, which accounts for the fact that it's got like some cool paint jobs and stuff like that. So it's like $3.50 plus the taxes, right? So we also have the Castrol lettering on the back and the tail lights and stuff. So nice work there. On the whole, very beautiful racing execution. All right. So there we have it. And this also kind of like seems a little different with regards to, but I think with regards to the lines, I for a moment, I almost did not see these lines, because the recurring theme on all the Ultra Hots cars is these stripes that run across the body and on the hood too. All right. Okay. All right. Let's set it there. At number 3, we have a JDM fan favorite. This is the Nissan Skyline RS KDR 30 specification in a beautiful Spectraflame, should I say lime green, right? So it says RS Turbo, and there is something here. I'm not able to figure what that is. It says 4-valve DOHC. I think that's going to be some fun trivia to find out. All right, 4-valve DOHC or OOHC. I'm not sure. Gotta find that out. RS Turbo, and pretty a simple execution, but again, that's also like the style of this car, right? It's very simple, but just looks very elegant. So a lot of power packed into this car, and nice stripes in keeping in tradition with the rest of the Ultra Hots designs we have seen so far. All right, let me set that right there. At number 4, we have a Porsche 917 LH. Now, I find this interesting because, this is a repeat casting, or, well, I shouldn't say repeat casting. This is more of a recolor, because just in Ultra Hots Wave 1, we had this Porsche 917 LH, right? And here we have the same casting, making a reappearance in a different color. All right. But the fun thing is, together, right? Together, they spell 917. So I don't know if that's like a fun Easter egg, right? Okay, I kind of like tilted the camera a little so we can get in on these details. So, fun fact. So I was wondering, hey, why did they have this make a reappearance just in Wave 2, right? But then, possibly Mattel was planning something with the lettering there, okay? So it says 917, which is also the name of the casting, 917 LH, right? This is from Wave 1, and this is from the current mix, which is Wave 2, all right? So Goodyear licensing, all right? So there we have Goodyear labeling, Porsche lettering and stuff. So very, very beautiful race car contours there. All right. Let's set that there. At number 5, we have the 60s Fiat 500D Modificado. Now, very beautiful selection. And, I think they have kind of like did a very, very beautiful execution. Just look at the half of the roof, having those checkered flag kind of pattern, and the number 2 on the hood and the sides, the doors and stuff like that, and it's like your classic air-cooled engine, right? So I just want to remind that this is actually a casting that appeared in the very initial mixes of car culture. It was called air-cooled, and I think this was like possibly the 4th or the 5th casting there. So that's when we saw this first, but ever since, this has made a lot of appearances. Just last year, I guess this was even a super. Right. So and we have also seen this possibly make an appearance in boulevards and, definitely some other premium a line that I'm not able to recollect it off the top of my head right now. Right. So very beautiful looking car, and all those decos definitely make it all the more attractive. right? All right, there we have the 60s Fiat 500D Modificado. And now that I tilted the camera, I probably gotta bring these castings in. Okay, all right, I will set that there. Okay, up next, we have a pretty beautiful 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. Wow, gotta love the racing contours on this casting. Now, I think this is a casting that made its debut like last year, maybe 2024, I'm thinking. And we have already seen like possibly 2 or 3 recolors of this. And, I love the Zamac bare metal finish on this one, right? So 40 for the number that could denote the GT40 model name, and it's got Firestone for deco, right? So beautiful race car, right? Ford Firestone, Ford 40. So I often, in the wild when I'm like hunting for cars and stuff like that, I often mistake this for a Porsche, right? So that is how this is also definitely got some Porsche curves on it, right? So, but I think it's probably some common contours that a lot of racing cars back in the day shared, right? All right, very beautiful bare metal finish to the Ford GT40 Mark IV. Up next at number 7 is a casting which is very close to my heart. We have the Volkswagen T1 panel bus, also called a combi. And, there's a lot of like fun facts about this. Now, this is one of my top favorite castings. And, I have pretty much every single release of this casting. And the first time I saw that this casting was making an appearance in the Hot Ones, the first thing that struck me was, wow, that's the first time this casting is actually, being produced without real riders. You know what I mean? I mean, so we have like a premium lineup in Hot Wheels where, it's probably metal on metal and it has real riders and everything. And then we have the basics. And now this is more of a semi-premium thing, right? So it's still got, it doesn't have any real riders. It's still got your plastic wheels, but special wheels, not your mainline wheels. And it's got that Spectraflame paint job, but still, right? I mean, this casting is stepping out of the real riders treatment for the first ever time, right? And another interesting thing is this is the first ever time Mattel is actually calling it a combi with a C, right? So a derivative of this casting is the Cool Combi, which is like a smaller version of the Volkswagen, Samba van, whatever we want to call it, a surf bus, whatever we want to call it, right? So that's like, just half of this with an open rear, with surf boats, sticking out and everything. So that one is called as a Cool Combi with a K for both C's, right? So, that's the name with which that casting goes. But this is the first ever time the Volkswagen T1 panel bus is also getting another designation called the combi, and that also a combi with a C, right? So now another interesting fact is that this is the first metal on metal casting for the series. Now, I think Mattel is designating this as some kind of a chase, right? Now, typically when we say chase or super treasure hunt, we understand that these are like, super rare, highly collectible, stuff like that. But here, you don't see those similar patterns, right? Although this is just like one per case, right? Now, that we can kind of like, I have a fact to share about the numbers once we go through 7 and 8. So I'll do that with 7 and 8 together. But, for all that we know, this is supposed to be like an official chase, but in real world terms, it's just one per case, right? And also, it's not that super hard to find. But pattern wise, this is metal on metal, just like how this was supposed to be the designated chase in Mix 1. And this one was also metal on metal, right? Okay, so let's open this up. I'm very interested. I love this casting so much that I would actually like to find a carded one. But the thing is, even though the card is pretty good, the blister cracked open. I think that is possibly because of how heavy this casting is, right? So the blister, I don't think they made the blister strong enough to support this casting, right? But I'm very happy to have found this, and this will definitely be a very nice addition to my Volkswagen T1 panel bus collection. There we have the classic Volkswagen vans front side, right? The hot ones, which is pretty cool, and the fact that it's a chase and is actually calling out the series name is pretty cool, because I don't think we saw that happening in the first mix. I don't remember, although I want to go back and see if any of those castings had the hot ones. So the fact that it carries the name of the series is pretty cool, right? So beautiful finish on these lines, no blemishes as far as I can see, right? Pretty cool. Wow, there we have the Volkswagen T1 panel bus stepping outside the Real Raiders treatment for the first ever time. All right. Very happy about this casting. All right. And up next at number 8, we have another collector's favorite. And this is definitely also one of my top favorite castings, the 71 Datsun 510. Right. Wow. Pretty beautiful. I think that Datsun 510 is probably making an appearance after possibly an year or something. I think last year, all that we had was probably like a mystery pack of this Datsun. Oh, I'm forgetting the fact that it actually appeared as one of the castings on a Mattel 6-pack. Okay, all right. So it's not that this guy has been missing from the scene for a long time, all right? But definitely looking very, very pretty in that Spectraflame purple and yellow, right? Almost reminds me of some Harry Potter house, right? So there we have the 510 Datsun. And we also have Goodyear for deco, right? So very beautiful. And fun fact, metal on metal, right? So the Datsun Bluebird 510. And this has a grill. Now, I'm curious if there is going to be some kind of like a variation. I don't remember the wiki calling that out as a variation, but typically what we have seen in the past is whenever there is a grill, that could be like a potential a variation with grill and without a grill. So we gotta see future releases of this particular mix in stores, and when you have seen enough of them, if there's going to be a variation or not. So, but all in all, very excited about this casting, because I'm also kind of like a big fan of this casting, and I try to collect as many as possible. Although some of the releases of this casting are like wild, they're like wildly expensive, right? Way out of my league. All right, so there we have. Now the pattern that I was wanting to talk about, right? Now this is casting number 7 and casting number 8. And they happen to be metal on metal, right? Although this is like evidently metal, and this is more of a, matte finish metal on the panel bus, right? Now, the collectors community has been like a little split on whether or not this needs to be treated as a chase and all that. Mattel designates them as a chase, but it's like more like it's not like super hard to find or anything like that, right? It's more like one per case. Now, with regards to the way these cars are distributed, now these come as a set of 12 cars per carton, right? So the retail stores get these in cartons that have 12 of these castings, out of which, it's an 8-car mix coming as a 12-car set, right? So, and we already know for a fact that, these two are like one per case. So among the other 4 castings, which are extras, that still leaves 2 castings, which are, one per case, right? So these are not the only ones which are one per case. There's definitely a couple more castings in this, the way they are distributed and, marketed in those cases of 12, there are at least 4 which are like 1 per case. So that is not a real reason why this would be called the chase. But with regards to whatever patterns that we are seeing, castings 7 and 8 seem to be metal on metal, right? That seems to be like the only pattern that we have seen in these two mixes so far. Now, whether that's a pattern that will be followed by future Hot Ones assortments is something that we'll have to wait and see. All right, so that was just something that I wanted to call out. So that's the only pattern that we see. And these were also like 1 per case in the previous mix. So the fact that they are 1 per case and the fact that they are metal on metal kind of make them a tad more collectible. But when it comes to, the real collectible nature, I think it all boils down to every single person's individual tastes, right? All right, so there we have the second mix of Hot Ones. I really liked how Mattel built in the 9 and 1/7 into these castings. So that was pretty cool. And I'm very happy that, this one has like 2 castings that I'm a big fan of, and I try to collect every release. So I'm really glad that I was able to find these in store. So my favorite would definitely be 1 and 1, possibly, right? And so for at number 2, wow, it's a coincidence. This one also has the deco number 2. That would be my number 2. And definitely all of the other castings would be number 3, right? So because almost every casting in this is a winner. And I really like the well-balanced mix of American, Euro, JDM cars. So that's pretty awesome. What are your favorites in this assortment? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's what I had for you guys today. Till I meet you guys next time, this is Suresh signing off. Rock on and stay awesome. Bye, everyone.